What's up, YouTubers? I just got done watching a video from one of my favorite YouTubers, Bjorn. He has a couple different channels, but he's a YouTuber in Norway. Some of his channels are on, or one of his channels on bushcrafting. Some of his other channels are more like commentary on what's going on in the Western world, like the United States, Norway, stuff like that. He's also an author. All his books are in his native tongue, Norwegian, so you can't really buy his books unless you understand that language. Just put that out there. Anyways, he made a video tonight that I was gonna try to capture with my screen capture, but it didn't work, so I'm just gonna make this video. He just found out, although he's not a U.S. citizen, he has to pay taxes on his YouTube income for any views that come from the United States. So if someone's either a U.S. citizen watching the video in the U.S. or someone's just passing through the United States, he gets income from people watching his videos because they're in the United States for whatever reasons. He now has to pay part of his income to the U.S., the federal government. Now, how about that? Isn't that pretty messed up? As he said in his video, the United States government must be getting pretty desperate if they have to tax people in other countries if a U.S. citizen or resident or anyone passing through the country is watching a video in the U.S. gets revenue from that video. So that's pretty interesting. I wonder if that's going to happen for like Amazon, for people who use Amazon to sell on Amazon. Like, he's an author. I assume some of his books are sold on Amazon, but I might be wrong. But for some authors who sell on Amazon, I wonder now if they're in Europe and their books are sold on a U.S., even though they're in Europe, if buyers in the U.S. buy their book, if they'll have to pay taxes or some way get extra taxes on top of whatever they're already paying. Now, that doesn't seem right to me. That seems kind of nutty and crazy, but it's the world we live in. He was just pointing out with coronavirus and a lot of other things going on, you can tell governments all over the world, but especially in Europe, Norway, where he's from, are getting desperate for revenues, and they're doing all these new taxes now to collect revenue they previously had collected. So it's why I'm always talking about having a plan B. I have an acquaintance, just to give you a short example of something similar to this. He lived in California. He still lives in California. He started having good years where his income went up quite a bit. And he paid tax on it, no problems. So what the California government did is they sent him tax bills for when he didn't even live in California, because they just assumed he just cheated or whatever. But he didn't have any income because he didn't live there, and he didn't have a business that was thriving at that time. So his accountant shot him off a letter, which has gone unanswered. Now he's getting threats from the California government. That just reminds me back in the day when California taxed people's pension incomes. If pensioners earned a pension in California and then left for another state, so they didn't have to pay the California tax, state tax, well, that got struck down. But California now is getting to be like the federal governments. They're so desperate for revenue. They're, by hook or crook, ethical or unethical, they're just trying to tax people. I've even heard like Europeans who live in California for 6 months or whatever the limit is, they're considered tax residents of California and have to pay tax on their worldwide income. That doesn't seem legal to me, but that's what they're trying to do. Now, I just want to say that's what I heard. I don't have proof of that. That's what people told me. I don't know how to verify something like that, but it's very fascinating when California, and now under the new President Biden, they're taxing people in other countries who have YouTube revenue coming from the U.S. In other words, if someone from the U.S. watches their video and they get revenue for that, they have to pay tax to their home country. Well, especially if they're in Europe, maybe if they're in a tax haven, they don't. Then they have to pay tax to the U.S. government. That's what I mean when in my previous videos. Governments are getting desperate. You need to have a plan B. You need to have income that's invisible. Hard for governments to find and look for, or find and actually get the money, and have income where there's no withholding, so you can decide how you want to manage all that. Because if they do withholding, there's not much you can do except for try to file a return and get your money back. Anyhow, this is really fascinating. Already now, with economies that are not so great, local governments in the United States, state, counties, are starting to raise up their taxes people are starting to leave for other states, then the states are chasing after them to get revenue, even though they left, even though they're not resident anymore. I'm thinking of like California too, but also to New York and these other places. It's just going to get crazy. This is really going to get crazy. I hope some of my viewers have kind of a plan B where they can live, work, and play in relative peace, and they have income streams that are at least multiple income streams that are diversified. So if they get hit with these taxes, they can live off their other income and figure out ways. If there are ways around this, I don't know. I'm guessing governments are going to crack down, especially the EU and the United States, Australia, New Zealand, but the high tax countries are really going to crack down now and try to get taxes from people who don't have lawyers or accountants, people like that they can't really protect themselves. So they're going to go after kind of the weak, the poor type people in society, which I think is just atrocious. It's just terrible. But if you don't prepare, if you don't think and plan in advance for these things, you may be getting hit up for more and more taxes. And the only way you'll get out, according to one of my friends, he claims you're going to have to, I forget the word, but when you expatriate, you got to get rid of your U.S. citizenship. There's a word for that, but in the past, you could do that. You didn't have to. My view is there's other ways to kind of keep a low profile and drop off the map. But other lawyers say, no, that's what you're going to have to do. I don't know. We'll have to see how this all plays out, but it's just gonna be awful. This is just gonna get ugly because I don't see how government's gonna get money from people who don't have money, and then give out multiple trillions of dollars to the big companies and even big corporations who don't even really ask for this money. I mean, I assume they lobby for it, but they don't really need it. It's just they're gonna have poor and lower middle class people pay for all this, and then as inflation rises, you'll be paying for it that way. And then not just rising taxes, but new taxes that didn't exist before. I think that's going to happen with a lot of real estate in the States because these local governments are really, really broke. And I remember when 2008, 2009 happened, I don't know if it's county tax, I don't know if it's a state or county, but real estate is taxed at the local level, and they just, in some cases, raise people's taxes 200-300%, which means if you didn't pay, you don't own your home anymore. You got kicked out on the street. That all takes time in the U.S., but you'll find out pretty fast you don't really own your real estate there if you can't pay your tax. I mean, that's just awful, but that's what I see happening because the feds are going to bail out probably Puerto Rico first, California, New York, and then after that there won't be any more money to bail out all the other states, so they'll just start raising taxes, driving their citizens to low-cost states. And then as low-cost states' taxes go up, they'll probably, some of them who can work online will just leave the U.S. and expatriate and probably set up, various LLCs or various SA corporations or whatever the case may be for whatever they need. But anyway, that's it for tonight. Taxes are going up. Like, share, leave a comment. Tell me what you think.